네 기본은 뭐든 dasong네 생원념이 제가 담제가 랑그 생원념이 장이 가리 연구 중계 제총 따고래서 데미 냠 드라마다 산냠 대냠 마담이 연구에 따지요 말이 인계 제로 손을 따 생을 남만으로 따 남색을 도는 인계 제총을 남이 줄 따고래서 되게 시리서
So my own teacher, Khenpo Minsel Rinpoche, said that for practitioners of the nature of mind, there's one sure way to evaluate good and bad, right and wrong, and the quality of one's own practice. Although various experiences, such as the experience of clarity and that of bliss and emptiness and so forth, will arise in the practice, the surest sign of the unerring path having been engaged is the arising of great compassion. The second question here was, how does the essence of mind remain empty but also contain compassion? Was that addressed in Rinpoche's response? Sure or yes?
Well, it's a difficult concept for me to get my mind around, so I'm happy to contemplate it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
다다 또끼는 hingi 남도 네 또매는 hingi 남도 많이 받으나 방그 도쿄메베 라쇼는 hingi 당대 돈이다 hingi 송된 데가 요래 미미 제베데 지지 무게는 hingi 남도로 봐
그지?
뭐봐 매비 hingi 라면고 유제메 봐네 미미 hingi 제베데
Is compassion not a concept? If we're talking about a conceptual kind of compassion, then we're speaking of compassion that is generated through effort. This is an objectified compassion that views sentient beings as the objects of compassion. Indeed, this is a conceptual compassion. Yet, when we experience the non-dual union of emptiness and compassion, there's no longer any sense of self and other. There's no longer any object of our compassion, nor is there any effort required to generate compassion. It is spontaneously and naturally arisen. Within the awareness of the empty nature, this kind of unobjectified compassion is spontaneously arisen.
소미는 hingi 지와라 진치 비고 몸도 거래 라는 게 냠도 요봐 올래 근데 주로 제라서 파마 니들이 좀 양당에서 너무 hingi 곰네 이리 자체로 니 리섬 체 리섬 올래도 하나 사람 hingi 곰 hingi 조디오를 봐 세번 내려고 나와만 돈을 그 조디오 말해 라마들 라미게 빼놓고 니게 되게 아니 차당 똑바 매버려 놓는다. 근데 라미게 통을 생고. 차당 똑바 많이는 생고는 깨끗만 통는 라버가.
This compassion should continue ceaselessly. It should always abide together with us. In the beginning, we contemplate our Dharma companions, our parents, our acquaintances, and we give rise to compassion for them. And then slowly we cause that circle of beings that we're feeling compassion for to increase. We should habituate this kind of created compassion by giving rise to it 3 times in the morning and 3 times in the afternoon each day. When we habituate this created or fabricated compassion that's based on conceptual thought, eventually we will recognize the empty nature of mind, in which there is no fixation to the thoughts based on attachment and aversion. when we see the nature of mind in this way, in a single instant, unobjectified, uncreated, unfabricated compassion spontaneously arises. If in the next moment we fixate on a thought, that union of emptiness and compassion is lost. But if we can abide in the empty nature, free from thought, that itself is inseparable from this ultimate compassion.
생각 의지는 내가 파다 생각 쳐다 파대들요 생각 쳐 막게 하나 따고 막게 따벌로 뜨서 뭐래 막게 따벌로 따지잖아 왜 따지 막게 막게 니는 나라 막게 심지 라트니 니고 쳤대 징빙 쭉 가래야 돼 따버라
네. Specifically, how do you observe the mind? We observe the mind not with the eyes, but with the mind. We turn the mind inward on itself. We look at the mind with the mind. One of the instructions that's given is to look at the nape of the neck. If you turn your gaze inward in that way, what you're really looking into is your own heart, is your own mind. With that kind of awareness, we investigate who is the knower, who is the aware aspect of mind. Looking in this way at the mind with the mind, we will eventually see the mind's nature.
대 방법을 생각하다 야 주라는 생각 가르치는 것도 다다 주 저상플리지 주 가르치 랍상데 알아 나그 생각 가르치는 것도 주라 나그 생각 가르치는 것도 네 듣는 것도 신나 다들 생각들이 남도 되게 타고 그래 중에 듣는 것도 사람이 대 심기기 시바 대래
So the knower, the one who is aware, is the mind itself. If we ask ourselves, what am I thinking right now? And then we think of this object that we've been considering. Although the thought that we've been thinking is just nothing more than a concept, the thinker of the thought is the mind. Likewise, the recognizer of the thought is also the mind. So the knowledge of the knower is just this.
배는 사제 좀 이렇게 랑게 샘네 용선 더는 사제 때 말인데 샘 너는 가리 들고도 싶다. 근데 이빨이 시골에 그죠?
라.
이빨도 시골인데 맛이 뭐 랑게 샘도 너는 빼는 줄 샘도 다 시당을 지우나? 야, 나 시당 지도 시당 체랑 yap고 말이다. 랑게 시당 총king 시바 대게 시당 거랑 무슨 다 시당 요 말이 시바 시랍 때 봐도 어떤이 인터넷 배나 당선을 가르치고 하고 그러더니 개부터 와한테 삼년째 몇 개월 동안 좀돼 샘들도 되는 거 봐. 대주 샘나 따가요.
So, for example, the Buddha, the transcendent conqueror, taught thoroughly transform the mind, thoroughly train or subdue the mind itself. This is the teaching of the Buddhas. So what is it that we are to train? What is it that we are to subdue? If we look at the mind and we see thoughts of anger, that is what we are to subdue. If we understand that the anger itself is negative, that the anger itself is causing harm, then that is what is to be subdued. How do we recognize the anger? We recognize it through awareness. How do we subdue it? We subdue it through awareness. Thus, this cultivation of the knower is the mode of training and subduing the mind. And then within this, we engage in virtuous accumulations. We meditate on love and compassion. We abandon negativities, and so forth. But all the time, we need to be continually looking at the mind with the mind in order to accomplish and perfect the accumulations.
생물 때는 다 남가다운 통도 남도 통도 남도 밀 가용 통도 삼잖아. 동성이 남가다고 차도. 되게 생물대로 오마데 통고요래. 남도 통고요.
So when you look at the mind, what are you looking at? Well, if you have thoughts in the mind, then you see thoughts. If you don't have thoughts in the mind, then you see the mind that is like the nature of space. You see the original natural state. So you're looking at whatever it is that arises.
나도 좋아마서 본도 고로 팩고다 좋아하니 팩고면 저기 팩면 걸려 좋아하니 인데 뭐 something 이수 돈이 팩고나 좋아하는 타야야 같이 넣고 뭐라 가지고 좋아하는 답변에 뭐 팩고면 something 거 이수 팩고 좋아하는 something 이 답변은 네.
So we're going over the allotted time. There are quite a number of questions yet to be addressed. Rinpoche has said, for those of you who wish to leave, you're welcome to do so. Yet he would like to continue to address the remainder of the questions this evening. So please do whatever is best for you.
나차대 요나 나차대가 요래 땡근데 레지 남에 레 나라 나차 니도 딱 벌때 생을 좀 대동해래 디니 뭐라 땡땡 생을 내려올 때나 디레 사과티 농고래 되나 어나 동해 되나 디니 뭐라 나차대 그걸 팽이 요래 나 마음고는 나차도 나 마음고 야와 농고래 딱딱 팽거리 상한테 동해 요 말봐 대문은 생분 내려올 때에서는 동해 대화는 남쪽으로 들이다기는 나사라 팽개를 빼는 나사 다사를 dro그래 나사도 동해 가까이 이리와
Could you clarify how one could have a sickness in the body without suffering in the mind? When we experience illness, we are experiencing the fully ripened effect of our former actions. But this illness is a physical phenomenon. It abides in the body. If we fixate on the illness in our minds, then we experience suffering in addition to the physical illness. So if we see that the illness is due to the fault of our negative karmic accumulation, we can use that either to experience happiness or sadness. It's up to us. For example, if I think that actually this suffering is of benefit to me, if I can endure it with equanimity, then in the future I will not need to experience the gross sufferings of the hell realms. In this way, we transform suffering into happiness. The suffering itself is merely a thought. And so, if we can transform the thought into happiness, or if we can liberate the thought, this will also have an effect on the physical body. It will also help to clear away the physical illness. So the most important thing is to separate the physical pain from the mental suffering.
신의 공부 삼hin지 공부래. 삼hin지가 진리 제일 돈이 공부라. 그 세운대로 양도 따나 참 가진 삼탐탐 거라. 이게 지금 진짜 뒤진들이 세운대로 따나 양도 나온 거래.
Does one need to be in a state of shamatha to glimpse the true nature of mind? The most important point is to cultivate loving kindness and compassion, for it is on the basis of this that the empty nature is recognized. If we are cultivating compassion again and again, then we'll get occasional glimpses of the empty nature. So it is on the basis of great compassion that the natural state or the nature of mind is recognized.
생분대로 통로 원래 디감이 변화 생남 과다 내들 원래 생 동성이 디와이로래 서 동성 요데 생물 강서 남도 총king 신king 원래 면홍다고 자기 시당랑 내 시당이 이제 총킹이 18 대게랑 정도 되나 시당 미로래 원래 들이 18 대래 유모방 무슨 바테라서 그는 유모가 돈으로라 다다 시락 되는 문제 거래.
샘데 난카 따부되나? 네. 제당 낭신 칸제 정기도.
시당 랑으로나 쇼그 유모바탄 공대로라. 라비 남카를 좀 봐나 이 라왕 매배고는 유모바 균체 매바지. 남도 균체 매바 요래.
How does a non-virtue such as anger arise when one is resting in the nature of mind? When we abide in the natural state, the mind remains like the expanse of space. It is endowed with clarity and bliss and emptiness. This is known as the non-dual union of clarity and emptiness. This mind is like a mirror that reflects clearly whatever is placed in front of it. When we give rise to a negative emotion such as anger within that, we recognize the anger immediately. The recognizer is the mind itself. That which has arisen, the anger, is also the mind. How does the anger arise? It arises through the habits that have been cultivated throughout many past lifetimes. We've habituated negative emotions, and thus they naturally and spontaneously arise within the mind. Look at the sky. Where do the clouds come from? How can they come? They naturally and spontaneously arise without any effort at all. They ceaselessly manifest. And so it is with the thoughts in the mind. They too naturally and spontaneously arise.
That's what I'm 다다 주는 그 생각은 남동 통키 18대 시랍들이에요. 이 시랍들이 유무가 시당의 중요가 심기 시랍 생각은 원다가 내가 대래. 오 시랍들이. 근데 되게 다다 유무가 참 되게 떨네. 떨쳐서 가서 떨나 대속치는 거. 이 지만 유무가 매백거니 시랍 코랑은 오랑 이럴 때나 진나 갔다고 차려. 시랍 코랑 오랑지 난 갔다고 차려. 진짜 이 시랍은 뭐 진짜 통거리 시랍도 바로서 좀 봤어.
So the person who asked this question, you should see that the question itself arises from the mind. What is it that sees the anger? What is it that recognizes the anger? It is transcendent awareness. What is it that knows anger to be a fault? It is transcendent awareness. Through the power of transcendent awareness, conceptual thoughts are scattered. If we abide in the nature of transcendent awareness, we recognize the mind that is like the expanse of the sky. Today you've read the Heart Sutra. This is exactly what the Heart Sutra is pointing at. This is the perfection of transcendent awareness wisdom.
tata 진시다 라마 예미바 진호송 이 시랍되게 뉴모바 종구요래 되나 진시되라 라마 예미바 진되는 욕타르더니 세분내는 대 인상들 산이 문에 대 시랍되가랑 세분고 자 그래.
We should recognize mindful awareness and the Guru to be inseparable. This inseparable Guru and mindful awareness is what conquers all negative emotions and allows us to recognize mind's nature. Apart from this, there is no other nature to be recognized.
남선남은 바지도 돈 몸에 덮게.
Is non-meditation done in the state of shamatha? If one practices gradually and in stages shamatha, eventually the state of non-meditation will arise naturally.
전에 장부터래. 이 장부터 집성 전에 아주 된 제부터 원래 저는 아직이가 빼놓고 상지에 되는 제부터게 이나 편 접어랑 상지에 사다 놓고 이제 이제 더 그려 해야 돼.
장부 세나?
장부 내기 장부 누구
The practice of shamatha or calm abiding is like a tiny sprout. If we continue to cultivate it, it will grow, and eventually the fruition, which is non-meditation, will be attained. Likewise, that fruition will accomplish all others' benefit and establish oneself in the state of Buddhahood.
뒷값은 나도 귀치고 차나 뒷값은 생물로 내려다 나도 파티 라도 대바데 매바도 매바데 땅에 내가 매번 강이 들이 야라 내가 제발.
Sometimes during meditation, thoughts come that seem really important or relevant, like something I definitely should act upon. In fact, sometimes their seeming importance propels me out of meditation in order to act on the thought. Okay, so the next question is so the seeming importance propels me out of meditation in order to act on the thought, or at least to write it down. It is like a message coming through that I need to do. So what to do? If you, in meditation, give rise to a really important idea, at that moment, look at the natural state of the mind. And within that, the thought itself will dissipate. Then, or like when you have the wish to immediately get up and do something about it, again, look at the nature of the mind, and that wish to get up will dissipate. When it has dissipated, then you no longer want to get up. And within that not wanting to get up and do whatever it is you need to do. Okay. I'm going to read this question, and I'm going to ask the person who wrote it to please simplify it and clarify it a little bit, because I'm having a hard time distilling the essence. You mentioned that the Vajra recitation of Om Ahom corresponded with the stage of fivefold Mahamudra practice associated with the 6 yogas of Naropa. By that, I assume you are referring to the deity practice of Chakra Samvara and the visualization associated with that. Is the purpose of that visualization also the stabilization of one's meditation and awareness of the natural state? What is the difference between working with visualizing oneself as a deity and working with the channels in that visualization and visualizing and working with one's own channels? Okay, so if you can help me figure this out, I can help Rinpoche figure this out. Okay?
I think there are a couple of different questions.
Yeah.
First, I think just elaborate on what he said about that Om Ahom practice corresponding to
이 저당 짤롱되나 나로 주동되더니 짤롱고 꼴 짱짱데 진짜는 담이라는 막 보여래. 근데 설정도 짤롱고 꼴은 대화하면 나로 주동데 말이래. 짤롱고 꼴.
So for those who didn't clearly hear the question, it was that Rinpoche had mentioned that the Vajra recitation of the syllables Om Ahom has some connection with the 6 yogas which are practiced in the context of the fivefold Mahamudra. And the question was about what that connection is. When we train in the 6 yogas of Naropa, we are training the subtle channels and wind energies, and we engage in various methods to effect that training. So when we engage the Vajra recitation of the syllables Om Ahom, in a similar way, we are working with the subtle channels and even more so with the subtle wind energies. We are training in them and clarifying them. And so that, in a very simplified way, is the connection between the two. Is there anything further from here that you want to clarify?
Well, when you visualize oneself as a deity and you're working with the channels purpose
Mm-hmm.
주반에 따당 농곰 찾으더니 랑규를 산속 sem지니더니 문제 라그람 이르와 얘네 다 봐.
Yes, they are the same. Oh, I'm sorry. The question, for those who didn't hear it, is that when one is engaged in deity yoga and visualizing one's own form as the deity and meditating on the channels in the body of the deity, and when one is meditating on the channels in the Vajra recitation of Om Ahom, is this basically the same thing for the same purpose? And Rinpoche has said, yes, it is.
매절로 피는구나. 미리 동의가 따와지 시고래. 동의가 따와고 단진이 되는 유목을 내사 내게 제가 다 연구요. 그렇고 그 삼흥지 전부 지는 기마 타주니 그걸 무슨 팽거래. 흥제 양도양도 공, 흥제 양도양도 공. 삼흥지 공나더니 문이 두 제가 흥제 끼나. 다 그걸 데리라고 팽이고 말이야. 내가 팽이고 해야지.
So the question is, please comment on how one can use these teachings today to help someone with mental illness. If we wish to be of benefit, first we must understand the root of that person's suffering. On the basis of clinging to a self, we give rise to thoughts and negative emotions, and then we create karma and so forth. That karma becomes the cause of suffering. If we really wish to be of benefit to this person, then we must give rise to loving kindness and compassion again and again in our mind stream. When we have authentically generated love and compassion, and on the basis of that give rise to bodhicitta, there is no greater benefit that we can provide to that individual and all others.
특히 침보를 닝제도 변나 안다 찍라 동해요나 뒤에 따로 레도고 심피 제리 제리도 변이 되니 예단이 냐와를 변이 동해 참 탐지 동해에 제라들 야 되는 탐지를 잡힌 닝제 침보지나 살이 제대로 무슨 닝제 제담 치는 대담이 빠체리야 닝제들이 치를 동공 거래 양대양도
So this is a very important point. If one person is experiencing suffering, and we observe that, at that time we should contemplate the sufferings of all the beings of the 6 realms of existence. We should think of those beings in the hell realms and the kind of hardships that they endure. And on the basis of this, give rise to compassion, not for that one individual, but for all beings of the 6 realms without exception. This kind of all-pervading compassion, however often we can cultivate it, will bring benefit. We need to cause this, we need to generate this compassion again and again and cause it to increase. Because to whatever degree we can generate this all-pervading compassion, we will effect a corresponding degree of benefit.
나또 도순 내장을 싸서 말해. 도순이 또 죽을 정도로 와. 말로는 나또 고발을 들어가. 고와 냐네 제발가. 말로는 고와 또는 냐네.
Okay, let's just start, and then if I haven't completely addressed the question, we'll go from there. In previous classes and teachings, it has been transmitted that even to have a negative, non-virtuous, or mentally afflicted thought will create the karmic seed for a negative consequence in the future. Yet, from what I understand in your teaching, karma, cause, and effect are one with emptiness, and both virtuous and non-virtuous thoughts are liberated in the state of non-dual awareness. So are you saying that there is no karmic ripening for an angry thought toward another bodhisattva? Okay, I didn't get that part. This really contradicts what I've been taught. Okay, now let's just go, because I didn't get into the bodhisattva thing yet. I just asked him the general overview, and this is Rinpoche's response. When thoughts, including negative emotions such as anger, are liberated on arising, they are transformed into Dharmakaya, which is also sometimes translated the body of truth. Now, when thoughts are not liberated, karma is created, and this is what conditions all of samsara. So, in brief, a liberated thought is nirvana, and an unliberated thought is samsara. Okay. So, are you saying that there is no karmic ripening for an angry thought towards another bodhisattva? Yes. If the thought of anger is liberated on arising, karma is not accumulated.
따뜻한 고발해. 만 고발한테 데리 정도로가. 노화를 또 데리는 인문 바쪽을 내서 노화를 좀 장비로가.
당매발라 다투송이로와.
그지.
네.
zibari dati zibang sangam zibari nga sabde medok sa de ko yo mara yo sa ni medok me yo tan yo de ra medok tan ko be ta ko yo mara ko be me pala yo pan de ba ji
All right. So, how are sentient beings using Rigpa or awareness and distorting it into Ma-Rigpa or non-awareness, if this is the case? And how is pure awareness distorted into ego-apprehending conceptuality? Rinpoche's initial response is, samsara is just like that. That is to say that when we give rise to negative emotions and we fixate on them as real, we create all of samsara. For example, we give rise to the 6 types of negative emotions, and on the basis of those we create karma. And the effect of that karma is to experience the arising phenomena of the 6 realms. But basically, we fixate on the I, we fixate on a self. And, how to say, and within this, what we hold as existent exists for us, and what we hold as non-existent doesn't exist for us. But in any case, this is all based on ignorance because it is involved with ego clinging and fixation. How to say? Fix on. And now I can't read my own handwriting. Whoever asked this question, let me ask you if Rinpoche has clearly addressed it. If not, we can go back to him. It's pretty okay? Okay.
예, 로마 용어 장마 요 말씀 되래. 난 나공이 속되래. 네 우마 로장이 있는 제대 롱 참만더니 우마들이 말스 안에 소아들이 그나 가창들. 됐음 저거 차. 난 나공이. 우만들이 야요래.
So this question is, what are the 3 channels? I don't know the definition. So these 3 are principally the central channel that runs through the central axis of the body. It runs from the secret place up to the crown of the head. And then the 2 subsidiary channels are the channels to the left and right of that. These 3 then are like a katvanga or a trident, the staff that you see this 3-peaked staff that you see some deities holding. Yeah, does that address it? Can I get some clarification on this question first? Is there benefit to add on visualization in a meditation that is experiential? Is there benefit of visualizing Chenrezig or deity or guru at the navel with the lentil-sized flame of Tumo, or is that a separate practice? Okay, I understand the second half of the question. I don't understand the first, so if you could help me with that. Okay. Yeah, so they are the same. Whatever you wish to meditate on there is fine. They're all the same. Yet, whichever among these you choose, you should meditate on them as being like a flame.
매 싸움 되면 남카가 강하면 샘이 시력이 오래. 시력도 바로서 말고 샘 시력 다 제법으로 앞에. 근데 요데 맹도리요 말이야. 남카 뱀보래 해지. 샘은 저 등시를 알아서 잡고 도지 창으로 와. 샘이 도지. 근데 요 삼지요 말이야. 요는 요 매일 삼 야유 거고. 요 삼는 데가 말이야. 매 삼는 데가 말이야.
Is it correct to compare compassion? I asked him the first question, and that is, am I to understand that the natural mind is equivalent to the empty sky? The mind is the perfection of transcendent awareness wisdom. Although we can apply names to it, and although we can describe it and give examples of it, we should understand it to be like immaterial perfection of wisdom. If we're talking about the sky, that is still a material phenomenon. So when we really talk about the mind itself, the mind is immutable, like a Vajra, and that immutable quality comes from transcendent awareness. So in this way, we cannot think of the mind as existent or non-existent. If we think of the mind as existent, we're in error. If we think of it as non-existent, we're in error. And so going from here then, is it necessary to ask the second question? Is it correct to compare compassion to the blue of the sky?
쌤 남카 동바 다부지나 이네 민제데 남케 카도 멤버 다부르데세
이제 하나들이 가도 요 맞아. 돈이 이제 그래. 그 야나 저 줘야 돼.
빼잖아. 그래.
빼는데 야나 줘야 돼.
Okay. So let me repeat the question as was written. Am I to understand that the natural mind is equivalent to the empty sky? If so, is it correct to compare compassion to the blue of the sky, to know that this is a part of the pure natural mind? And Rinpoche has said that yes, if you want to posit an example, it is fine to say that as the empty mind is like empty space, so too the compassion aspect of the mind is like the blueness of the sky. Although, of course, this is a mere example, and the mind itself has no color.
돈이 당민제 손도 주번이와 근데 해미래 쌤기 연된 시행을 베스 젬바
대니 손을 줘놓지. 코바냐데 이 결이 용띠 탐지 이제 되는 경우요래. 자꾸 산지사가 용띠 탐지 행지도 또 경우요래. 네.
아니 대미래 시행을 말베 맞아
대니 힘간 요 말이야. 본인 이게 손을 좀 받들더니 따다 콘데 니 기와들 뭐 탐지 내일 탐지 용이 이제 되네. 핀데 용은 내지 거들이 피마도 제가 용은 내지 뭐 산지 땜바지는 다 되래. 대니 좀 벌래.
Is there any other component of the natural mind, one empty of thought, besides compassion? And the short answer is no. The union of emptiness and compassion give rise to all of the phenomena and all of the qualities of samsara and nirvana. Particularly, the union of emptiness and compassion is the cause of all benefit and happiness of all sentient beings. Apart from this, there is no other attribute to the mind. There is nothing more than this. This is the mind of all of the Buddhas.
동해기 경치인데 컨트리 셀 그래서
동해가 이보라 상행지 제거래. 랑가 동해 치보나 감성 셈지 담시 동해를 파싸 못하나. 오, 난 담빌리가 말이 말이 높을까 동해 가세요. 셈지 담지라고 파마래. 참말로 동해 거래. 가지고 동해 가리리 싸네. 제 담지를 파싸는 게 있지나. 들이랑 동해지. 저당지에 봐. 빼놓고 좀들 빼나. 대 용통을 드니 상행지 되게 동해가 자와 난지 되래. 랑가 레기 파싸네. 랑가 레기 파싸다 장가도 해 요거 요래. 또 나디들 힘제고 그래서 simply 이해는 힘제지나 근데 랑가 동해에 다다 농한테 그 마음 봐 미총적인 동해 고추도 요래서 동해는 가와고 이해는 힘제고 뭐지
So the question is, I am currently experiencing a great deal of grief. I am told to feel sad or angry, but I am also told to realize that these are just thoughts and to release them. How do I burn these karmic seeds and process these emotions? The supreme method is to generate loving kindness and compassion when we are experiencing great suffering. If we think of all of the sentient beings of the three spheres who have been our kind parents in former lifetimes, all of them without exception are experiencing suffering. What is needed to clear away our own and others' suffering is loving kindness and compassion. Through the power of generating love in our hearts, our own experience of suffering is overthrown. We should understand that the root cause of suffering is self-clinging. On the basis of self-clinging, we accumulate negative karma, which will result in future suffering. When we understand this process, then, we can generate a mind of compassion for all sentient beings, ourselves included, who continue to act based on the habit of self-clinging. In this way, then, we should give rise to a mind of love and compassion for all of the suffering beings of the three spheres of existence, without exception. And this will help to alleviate our own experience of suffering. I hope that clarifies the question.
말이 나랑 레사요 네. 중앙의 로지 했대. 랑 레사요 봐. 랑 수지는 오래. 근데 저도 양이 지는데 심지 탐지를 팽개요. 알아야 팽개요. 원래. 제가 랑 레지 버려.
Are you physically sick because of your disciples' broken samaya? Not at all. This is the result of my negative karmic accumulation. Due to negative karma, I spent 20 years in a labor camp, and any illness or suffering that's experienced is experienced due to karma alone. It is my burden exclusively. As for you, you engage in the practice of the Dharma, and this benefits all sentient beings, myself included.
나वे면서 쇼비트 책 가서 돼. 아 쇼비트 책 생점 지에 느끼는 거 같더니 사바상 보통에 대화 가차리.
There are three times in this life in which the time of death came for me. And due to the kindness of Ari-ma and her blessings, death was averted.
Say the Pamit Amina, Rangachi Kamal, the young Papa Amiri, she was a Rangaton Dari, or Rangachi Kama Pamala Tenima, the Pamaki, the Potoni, Yore. Tina Tata Kama, Tiwachina, the need to reject in Samakon. Data of it, Ragapolity, Sama Pochi, Pomorto, Tomorti, Sama Kama by your money. That is
Regarding how everyone has been our mother in previous lifetimes, what can you say to someone who is trying to generate bodhicitta but who in this lifetime was not properly cared for by parents? It is therefore not helpful to think of everyone as a mother. There's more to this question, and if Rinpoche hasn't fully addressed it, then I will ask the remainder to him. The reason why our parents might not treat us with loving kindness is due to the ripening of negative karma from former lifetimes. In the past, they have been our parents as well, and we have not respected them. We have not returned their love with kindness. And now they do harm to us in the present life. If it is not effective to meditate on all beings as your parents, then focus on whoever you do have love for, whomever is closest to you, whether it's your companion or lover or daughter or son, who you really love and cherish. Then use that individual as the basis for your meditation. Extend the love you have for that individual to all other sentient beings. So, is it necessary to ask the remainder of this question, or was it answered? Was it clarified? Have you already left the room? Okay, then I guess that will do it.
Page 34.
Thank you. Jagambaba Mahamudra Pith Kujidani Lama Chimboda Gachiza Bachapta Dodi Joson to Sanju Love Jutu Satando Bijati and Tata and Mojo to Mito Java. Oh, the more number of do this. She told you go to the Lama Jota Rudoji Jambas want to talk about it. One of Long Joseph Somehow, some million thousand only member hundred for also something like that. Change your home before you were Gila, so some Jesus the Dajina. Tamba to Jin and so the so. Ah, she don't number of the Nikatan, so same with money. Dress my body, Japore. There is several go dress the la. Suction of Duchi of Malas from Mambo, she only young. Tini taptok, you're same maro, you're married. You know, thing was that I can do Jarty Lani of Bima, the Yami chicken, that's some lord of Sona. Be up for Romani, but some lord of Lola Lona, Titonda, the Lanta Ganges didn't trade it to that long, the Hajang people, you're it. Then they hung that same with all the Andina. 동친이 쉬었다니 봐. 니네나 이러래 니네나 사도 무슨 거 동참아 니네나 동친이 쉬었다니 봐. 내리 동친이 쉬었다니 봐. 다 세분들 게 많아도 약찬은 동다 니책 이해 되는 거라. 딱딱 니네나 송지하래. 오래.
So to all of you Dhamma friends gathered here today, yesterday we gave a great deal of commentary on the text, and this was really dealing with the ultimate meaning in accord with the view of Mahamudra, Dzogchen, and the middle way of Madhyamika. And although there are many such teachings, apart from the ultimate view that is mind itself, there is really nothing more to the Buddha Dharma. And so we began this morning by reading the text of the 37 practices of Bodhisattvas. And it's really excellent to recite this on a regular basis, because the text addresses all of the different kinds of hardships and difficulties that you experience. And so if you read this, if you commit it to memory, then as you engage in daily life and encounter difficulty and hardship, you will know exactly which verse will apply to the present circumstance, and this will be of extremely great benefit. Now, with regard to the ultimate view of Mahamudra and Dzogchen, the 22nd verse of the 37 practices kind of summarizes all of it, and that verse is, appearances are one's own mind. from the beginning, mind's nature is free from the extremes of elaboration. Knowing this, not to engage the mind in subject-object duality, is the Bodhisattva's practice. And so this is an exceedingly meaningful verse, as it truly encompasses the pith of all of the teachings on the nature of mind.
그 강의는 되는 따와다 뭐봐 이거 다도 특히는 뉴데요 레지 강의 졌다는 나만다다 랑그 샘제는 선 뇌진제대 낭 주지 샘지 탐지 방거든 샘그 주요레지 샘지는 샘지 저도 사지 샘지 탐지 찍래 샘 코는 처럼 오고 따나 다른 게 샘을 내로 통화되다 따왕 뭐 두제 변에 되래 갑좀 샘지 탐지 샘을 내로 쳤다 마시면 파 따지들이 샘을 접박을 지선 나오잖아 심리 눈에 두번 타탕 잘다 심리는 타 후비도 따와는 요 말에 그래 그리고 농부 장가로 맞다고 차대래 농부 친구 야가로 맞아 변을 매도 따와 찍라 매도 너무 되는 제가 로만 담았다 따와를 차대 요래 변나 그 세번 타를 두번 타를 파티들이 다 콜와데 되게 차요래 했지
So within this single verse, all of the essence of view and meditation are combined. That is to say that all appearances arise from the mind. If we understand this, then we see that the entire container, that is this worldly realm, and all of the contents which are sentient beings, are created by and arisen from mind itself. We speak of sentient beings, sentient meaning having mind, and those beings who have mind then have the same basis of mind as do all of the Buddhas. On the basis of this Buddha nature, we can be introduced to the ultimate view. So what causes this, why do sentient beings remain in their ignorant state? All of the sentient beings of the three spheres of existence, not recognizing the natural state of the mind, not seeing their own Buddha nature, remain deluded by ignorance. Yet, when we are introduced to the view and we habituate this, then we recognize the basic sameness of our mind and the Buddha's minds. This view then is free from all extremes. It is free from holding on to any specific viewpoint or tenet system. It is like a vast tree with flourishing branches and foliage and flowers and so forth. What conditions cyclic existence is the rigid adherence to views, opinions, tenet systems, and so forth.
이 사자심을 따와도 냠슬 해봐 깝니 강송을 나와 샘서 타게 너무 대역보거나 야 성공적인 남주 샘기데 샘을 가리도 주도 되는 뺀나 다다 랑니 사 충동지로 삼고 당가야 뺀나 니 자동차 깝데 서로 주래지 락베 주래 제르게 주래 말해 샘크 딱지다면 샘크 라고 룰드 주어야 돼. 나한테는 되게 룰드 주어야 돼. 룰드가 샘이 되어야지. 샘크 맞으나 르보 뚜고 가는 속을 말이야. 다 샘크 주죠. 들리 딱지다만 샘크 주어야 돼.
So for those who are practicing the view of Mahamudra, it is important to investigate the relationship between mind and apparent phenomena. We can investigate any phenomenon in the outer container that is this world or the inner contents that are beings. And what we will find is that all of them have been created by mind. We need to investigate this on a very fine and subtle level, or down to the finest, subtlest level. By way of a gross example, if you're looking at a cup, one might ask, where did this come from? Who created it? And a simple answer would be, it was made by someone's hands. But if we really think about it, the body alone cannot create something like a cup. First, there is the notion that a vessel like this is needed, and that notion arises in the mind through the habits of self-clinging. And only when that idea is established does the body engage in the making of the cup. And so we should investigate carefully in this manner the connection between mind and appearing phenomena. So in this way we should investigate created phenomena. Now if we apply this investigation to this outer worldly realm, we see that it comes about from the cause, that is the collective karma of sentient beings. And through that collective karma, the worldly realm is created by the 5 elements. In addition to this collective karma, there is individual karma, which conditions the karmic physical bodies that we have. So we should see that through karma and karmic habit patterns, all inner and outer phenomena have arisen. Karma and these habit patterns are nothing other than mind itself. So we can see that all phenomena are created by mind.
This concludes CD number 5 of Ganges Mahamudra Practice Instruction with His Eminence Garchen Rinpoche.
So if we, as we abide in the outer container and interact with the inner contents, we fixate on them as being real and inherently existent. And on the basis of this fixation, we create karmic propensities. We think that this worldly realm and the beings therein are real and true and inherently existent. But if we investigate carefully and ask if these phenomena are truly real, we see that they are in fact not. They are like bubbles appearing on the surface of the water. In an instant, they're subject to destruction. There is no phenomenon that will continuously abide, and thus phenomena are the nature of impermanence. If we investigate this, then, we will see that all of the outer and inner phenomena of the container and the contents are not real, not inherently established.
Tene tela chopta mada denza mabdi diban zuba to ma tene ta chuju pumbo je te jong ta mambo chi jong yore ole te patakje matang rob no sanji ka ta to rang ke o rang ke te din din shek so so din din shek na rang ke te ge te chong chong yore te na ona
La Rinpoche.
pena suge denban dina ten khowara ra khowan chambu yore ba 수거티 디디디 혁송나 될 일반적 바테 시라부터 혁송나 그때는 상계에도 심지 담연의 상계에는 소디디형나 나그 일반적 바테 혁송들이 변라는 상계에도 배우려가 가리 법아 차송 동반이 나팔 탐도로라 빼때다더라 되니 다다 무슨 그 대바 많이 봐 대바 맞아 봐도 때서 싫어 이 세부디 몇번 통되는데 대발에 sabdete 이치 매가 이치디 매서 세분 총화 줘도 이치다 근데 내가 보이 매도는 거 보이 상태에서 산인데 매도 싫어를 봐. 오 매도는 조금 맞다 빠르서 세분 산 총화 요 말을 세분 듣고요 말을 봐. 디디디 싶구나. 손주데 디디니 좀 거요. 좀 디디 되게 좀 거요. 리 디디 sempre 봐요 말아. 디 sempre 때 도트를 배를 sempre 매를 잡으려나 대시선 매사고 통거리 그 담시 sempre 받아 잘하는 거야. 받으리 디디니가.
So, if we investigate whether phenomena are real or not, whether phenomena are true or not, on the basis of this kind of investigation, many different thought systems arise, and we engage in philosophical debate and so forth. And so from this type of investigation, all of the 84,000 aggregates of the Buddha's teachings have arisen. If we do not do this kind of investigation, then there is no basis for liberating our minds from fixation to phenomena as real. So through relying then on these liberating teachings of the Buddhas, we can begin to loosen our fixation on phenomena as real. Those beings who hold on to the true inherent existence of things continue to wander in cyclic existence. Whoever overthrows that tendency to fixate on things as real, through the power of wisdom, attains the state of Buddhahood. This is like when we have a vessel, a closed vessel that is empty. Inside it contains empty space, and outside it is surrounded by empty space. When we overthrow the habit of fixating on phenomena as real and true and existent, it is as though that vessel is shattered, and the empty space inside merges with the empty space outside and becomes indistinguishable from it. This is an example then of the attainment of liberation through loosening the fixation on the reality of things. If we understand that phenomena are not real, that they are not true or existent from their own side, then we no longer believe in, we no longer have a fixated kind of faith in the things that we observe. For example, if we see a flower, we don't hold on to it as an inherently existent entity. Although we recognize it and it appears, still we are not holding to it with fixation, and thus there is no obscuration in the mind. In this way, we see all phenomena clearly as they truly are, and we attain the insight or the seeing that all of the Buddhas have.
Me viendo no atele juma ta lo so tele pe mangpo lo juma megju tele je damada lo pe na pe mangpo de yin ya me viendo no atele juma de o saje ke de hong de ne de de me de dang ma shin na ka le sem bu malam de juma ni malam nan do le malam ya ta sem bu ra wu so na malam ni rang ya che pu nya sa na ni khok de rang tini malam ka kami yor tang, lu tang, da tang, xin tang tik ta tiri jao kana rang ka pak cha tini yang malam yor chik zui xe wale ti rang ni chik pa ma to sa chik we nyakar me se de wa malam ti yo ma le ni khok ma chik dana ni khok diyo na khok da yor zi tang ma ti le ka nyapar nang yi ku le ka chik yo le ni mi na ti kayang thong ku yo ma le rang ka khang wa na la de yo le ti 미치 코랑게 생거랑 다 조요 같더니 하고 그러마 주마니 말람지 내가가 나왔던 게 주마다가 레지 제부터 말람 남이 시래 되나.
So there are many examples of the unreal nature of phenomena. We say that they are like illusions, or that they are like dreams. So although the Buddhas also perceive material phenomena, they don't have any fixation on them as being real or inherently existent. Thus, they see the dreamlike nature of all appearances. Likewise, when we observe phenomena through the natural radiance of our own minds, we too see those appearances as they truly are. This applies not only to material phenomena, it applies to our perception of ourselves, our perception of others, and all objects of perception. For example, if someone is asleep and dreaming, then that person sees so many things in his dream world. He engages in activities just in the same way as he engages in ordinary daily activities, and within the dream state sees no difference between the two. Yet for someone who is in the same room with that dreaming person, they do not have that same experience. They are not engaged in that dream realm.
wa de ye nyar da da je re ze wan ra ja de ro wa je yang ma le ba de ye za la go ba yo. Thank you. Gumbotu Jecheri Vada Jeji Bata Baba Tuna in the Jabde Jula Dala Tapado Chata Vejoki Venge Roye Jeta Rona Jojo Shejor Chula Santa Lord Audio Laya Dola Bata the Vejaga Bayo de again Laya Santa Lord Doja Baba Bella Jagamba Mahamdra Vajradhara Gomba Kaju Lomano and Mo Josun Joseph But the Jacob Water should have just Margo and Josum Jetty, but the Balamago of the Jetty Jabaya to the Vajradhara the Daniel Lama Boda Gatis about Chapter Dodi, Joseph Sanjulo, Jutu, Satan, what the Bijap is about and go on, when they going to be doing Java. Oh, and the more number of all do the Shido Jigger, the Lama Jota, the Jambas, one of the Joseph. Sangha Samillion Lens Hazone to Nimbin Legend for also some much and the Cajun, your home before you were Gila, so some Jill the Dajina. Tamba to Jin and so of the soul. Da you don't number the Katang, so same with money. Dreshe, my body, Japore. There is several Gogan Dreshe, the la. Suction of Duchi, Malas from Mambo, Chiona Young.
The realm is not inherently established and subject to impermanence. On the basis of that, we should look inward at the mind itself to recognize that it too is not inherently established. When in this way we abide in the essence of mind like the empty sky, we establish ourselves in the unelaborated view.
Teni ta gomba yamsa rebala teni shine de o teda ga tung de shine zongdin chima na yilama ji jase la le teni shine zongdin chima na zongdin de zongwa yelo de ba chemi zongdin tamche ta to ba daji ni ta ta pena 망보 요리도 타토바 나기 있었는데 바지 근데 나게 저도 로마는 저거 요래 저도 나 라마는 저거 요래 그래 저도 좀 밖에 나도 타마 로마니 이제 코 라마리 있은 저거 요래
So for those who are practitioners of this kind of meditation, it is necessary to recognize the suchness of phenomena. Generally, we have a dualistic perception. How to say? In Tibetan, the term is zongzin. Zong is that which is held. It is the object, or that which is apprehended, let's say. And zimba, is the apprehender or the mind itself. And so we always have this separation between that which is perceived and the perceiver. This is the basis of dualistic view. This is what causes us to think that self and other are different. So, for example, I perceive all of you as my disciples, and you perceive me as the guru. And this is the basis, or this is an example, I should say, of dualistic view.
zungu yorse yakbo shigore zungu yoran ziba semi kaka shigore pena zungu yorse ragan ziba ma yona chido zungu mipe mechik sarole do na te kaya yo ma ngo ma shibe mechik na semla lukka kaya ziga yo ma rezi zungu yor pena ta dini kochu mang ngom shidi zena arse chuna 동다 요말와 뭐 미치게 되고 너무 상지 아서만 배나 종이 요때 나가 주주 나 라마 사다 종이 요 라마 나래 저번 셈 라마 셈진데 요래 니도 보마 인자 셈진데 요래 얘는 너니가 발라다 상못한 거래 배나 지마지는 다 라마이디 나를 라마지마 고도 로만지마 이거도 아 지마지는 다 맹도데 갑장적으로 라마가 맹지 라마의 맹적 맹당 치마 맹당 치마는 진짜 봐 맹지 치마는 지고로 빼나 치마는 보다 보모니가 따르래요 봐 따지는 치마 지고 봐 하고서 맹지 라마 로마 진짜 봐지 하고 봐
So we must understand well the difference between the mind and the objects that are apprehended by mind. So by way of example, if I think I am the Lama, then this notion of Lama is the apprehended object. And within that, there's both the term Lama, the name Lama, and the referent to which the term refers. Yeah, and so likewise, I have the thought: you are disciples. Again, I'm applying the label disciple to you, and then there is the actual referent, which is all of you present here. And that label and the referent together make up the the perceived object in my mind. Yeah.
tata gewa tam gewa yechima bela tata ta chuchu ngalamanaji necho lomanaji ni yena ngoso semde lamada lomage sem yede rang sem de lo tela sem na pa ta ta chipa cha de ngoso yene 이제 직 된고 semde 이제 chipa cha de 디는데 tata le tang yu mo ba rang yu mo ba na to la de le tang yu mo la de ta kaka so so lam kaka so so cha de mani pena yele 이제 잡고 집었다 쳐져요나 근데 디는 쳐대 나만 타서 갈아다 가도다 데라서 뭐 쳐건다면 쳐라가 뽑아본 총 가도 가져서 가가라 디저 귤랑 가가자서 그 세우 이제 되죠 봐지 동호만 있어 맞아 봐 라마다 보면서 세우 이제 되지 빠리 상 이제 하고 원래
So we should also consider how virtue and non-virtue come into play here. You perceive me as the guru. You perceive me as the object that is the guru. But in terms of the ultimate nature of mind, there's no distinction to be made between guru and disciple. The very basis is the same. It is like the vast expanse of space, the innate nature of the mind in the guru and in the disciple. Now, of course, we give rise to negative emotions and accumulate karma, and therefore there are distinctions among all of us in terms of our appearances and our conduct and activities and so forth. But as regards the very basis, there is no difference. This basis is like a vast ocean comprised of clear water, although we can add, although we can extract water from that ocean and add different colors to it, red and blue and green and so forth, and it will all appear different, at the very basis, its nature is simply that of clear water. So, if we realize the ultimate meaning, then we will recognize the non-dual nature of our own minds and the mind of the Guru. This must be understood.
Teni tela tina ta chadang mosum la sope topa teta tamje yapena dala daranze yin tina jebe semje ta semde chengong lo ba semde jing san chengge manjin chengge yo mari pena ole nje te ta nang thoman nam to de shari ore nam to de sem은 jing de na teni nam to de cheng ore chadang sem은 cheng yo ore 지는 친구고 봐도 많이는 친구미와 데이터다 하고 되고 또 지루와
So within the empty nature, we give rise to thoughts of attachment and aversion. We perceive some as our enemies and others as those loved ones who are near and dear. When we give rise to such thoughts of attachment and aversion, if we fixate on them, then the mind is bound by them. If, when they arise, we are free from fixation, there is no bondage in the mind. This is an important point that you should understand, and for this reason I'm giving introduction to it.
대비라 신사시 때에면 마균 용문도 룰을 경화 룰죠 도와 대처매에 가장 니 참을 잘해 니 되는 거죠 도와드는 게 경화 룰죠 도와 대처매에서나 근데 강의들 남도 많지나 경로 말이지 원래 남도 가야 많지 남도 친구요 말 남도가 많지나 생코는 거 가지들 라왕 토고 생고 라왕 토고 이거래 라왕 토바 디데록데 시송했더니 돌들이 생고 접힌 가면 와서 생고 접힌 오면가 정과 루주 돌아서 좀 매서 좀든게 티마 일 말이나 들이 생된 친구들 생된 적게 오면가 일면 되게 되 고바들 다 좀든 티마 생남도 많지 남도 가는 남도 다밀라 통우대 사치나가 책다 라니 소주면 책이 됐으나 마음과 디 책이 라니 첩주면 책이 이 나오나 들이 따와 하고라.
So yesterday, as we were speaking about this text on Mahamudra, we came to the line, if you loosen the bonds, there is no doubt of release. That is to say, if when thoughts arise there is no fixation on them, then there is no binding factor in the mind. The bonds have been loosened. On the basis of this, the mind attains freedom and independence. Thus the text says there is no doubt of release. When we recognize the natural state of the mind, we experience liberation. And within that experience of liberation, there is no obscuring factor whatsoever. There is no bondage between the perceiver and the object that is perceived. They have merged into one. This is meditation. So when various thoughts arise, although they appear, they are liberated. And in their liberation, our minds are unfettered. This is the view of Mahamudra, and also the view expressed in the 37 practices in this verse that reads, appearances are one's own mind. From the beginning, mind's nature is free from the extremes of elaboration. Knowing this, not to engage the mind in subject-object duality is the Bodhisattva's practice. If we hold this verse in our mind, then we can always access the view.
드는데 다 저거 탑라더니 졸람지 상하 탑제 람자 졸람서 졸람다 다당수 봐라 장이니 올 장미 이라서 니 봐 탐지래 되게 sem도 하정증 되게 동의죠 요래 배나 되는 나와도다 당무 마다바도 답발은 전에 마다바도 봐도 싶고 그래 마다바도 봐도 싶거나 마다바 도나 마다바 직장 요 말에 선웅적이 탐지 용왕아 이 시간에 남주 샘지 탐지 폭한 찜지 이제네 답봐요 말라 소소가 마다바 지네 올해 들이 다 앞에는 다 농해 연구를 해 마다바 답발을 줘 답바 동반이래 절 들이 동이 동도 그러래
So with regard to the various methods of attaining liberation, we are speaking here in the context of secret mantra Vajrayana. So there are diverse methods and paths of secret mantra practice, all aimed at the attainment of liberation. In general, with our ordinary dualistic view, we fixate on phenomena as being good and bad, right or wrong, pure or impure, and so forth. And on the basis of this dualistic fixation, we create the causes of suffering. When we engage in the various methods of secret mantra practice, first we transform ordinary impure perception into pure perceptions. And in this way, we overthrow the fixation on phenomena as impure and ordinary. The outer world is composed of the 5 elements, and those 5 elements are the nature of the 5 wisdoms. Likewise, the constituents of this body are composed of the 5 elements, and so they too are the 5 wisdoms, and thus are inherently pure. So, first, in secret mantra practice, we are introduced to this innate purity, and by meditating on it, we transform impure perceptions into pure ones. And then beyond that, we transform pure perceptions into the awareness of emptiness. In this way, the ultimate meaning of the empty nature is realized.
변라다 랑 소시 주를 삼동 랑게 주라 누가게 정말 샘들라 샘다 코탕다고 다 가리다 올라 랑 샘나 랑게 샘데 가리게 띵거죠 가시 대학은 청이 오래 샘데 대화를 차 가시 동의게 hin가 무슨 바거든 청이 오래 오 샘데 청와대 무슨 뒤감이 변나 뒤샘 청와대 뜻남 도시래 지금 때 강연 맞다 들이 나게 세번 내려고 쳤다 내려고 때문에 야나 다들이 샘 나파다고 차동 쳤더니 청와대랑 쇼고 돌돌오래 샘번 내려 통나 이 청와대 돌탑 제 망통을 돌 못해 봐뒤 점심이 그래 나보 세번 내려 시급이 점심이 되래
So you should investigate your own mind stream and determine for yourself what causes bondage in your own mind. How to say? What are the chains that bind your mind and create suffering? Some people are bound by attachment to bliss. Some are bound by fixation on suffering. So we need to recognize the binding factors in our own minds. And then having seen that, we should then look at the natural state of the mind. Rest in that awareness. What we will see is that all of those binding factors are naturally and immediately liberated by abiding in the natural state. So when we abide in awareness, we are liberated. When we are not, when we do not abide in awareness, when we cannot see the natural state, then our minds are bound.
내 조버 탑대 가장하게 엄마 탑 섬시에래 소장하 섬그 졸록 가장 시에요래 들어양 잘 해야 돼. 다른 탱이 봐 졸록데 강내지나. 지그랑 게 내록십에 줘봐. 이바데 세분 내록 통에 줘봐. 저거 동아그 남신십에 줘봐. 동해 남신십에 줘봐 뺀다다 줄 동해도 요나. 동해에 지난 거 세분 제담 진나데. 진대를 저기 주 동해에 매봐요 뭐 뺀다. 라고 족보도 뭐 시송한테 야랑지 말아지. 디 직딩은 코비 춘이 끼와지는 쳐왔어요래. 뺀나 랑게 니 족보를 좀 뭐지 시송한 디 동해이잖아. 디 쳐왔던 직딩이 춘이래. 디 시송한테 디 동해라는 진도 줬대더라고 그래서 오 직딩이 춘이래. 참만 됐다 그래서 내록십에 제 동해 제동무도 상상하. 근데 동해 야 조종으로 봐. 니바데 강르잖아. 동해에 남도 저래. 남도 타마지 봐야. 남도 때 문제는 라카 야상 라가 세고 내록 지시거나 잘 대성나. 라촉 그 돈으로 빼나. 좋답니 봐. 하고 송. 이 좋답니 보고 생각 좀. 강답자 좋아 탑 일로 하.
니마도 말마.
아.
니마도 말마.
니마도 메다다 강르들라. 세부 내용 통통아 내사고 돌러봐. 갑자기 나가 돌러다 버려봐. 디마치 내용으로 삼모다네. 레주베로 삼모다. 예주도 해서 삼모다. 사족 접어 탑라. 나가 돌탑 이제 다다다 라는데나. 들 신도 돌탑. 대인 배주도 올라 갔어.
So there are basically two methods to liberate the arisings in the mind. Now yesterday I spoke about the three different methods or the three different vow systems, those being that of individual liberation, that of the bodhisattvas, and that of practitioners of secret mantra. And so I will not elaborate those again today. Yet with regard to the methods of liberation, when we abide in the natural state, when emotions such as suffering arise, there will be no fixation on them and they will naturally dissipate, and then we will be free of suffering. To whatever degree we fixate on the arisings, we experience a corresponding degree of suffering in the mind. For example, if our close companion dies, we experience suffering in the mind. And there are two means whereby we can liberate that suffering. The first is in accord with the causal Mahayana or the Bodhisattva level of practice. And that is to contemplate that actually this is the nature of all worldly phenomena. All phenomena are impermanent, and so forth. And by understanding the truth of the situation, the load of our suffering is lightened. The other method is in accord with secret mantra Vajrayana practice. And that is basically, first we must understand suffering is caused by thought, and all thoughts are the same. If I abide in mindful awareness, which is the natural state of the mind, thoughts are liberated, and therefore suffering is liberated. So if we choose to follow this latter path of practice, it's easy. When negative emotions and suffering arise, we can liberate them in the moment. If we are not able to do that, then we need to revert to the practice of contemplating karma, cause and effect, and the essence of the Buddha's teachings, the truth of which will help to cut through suffering. So we need to make effort in these two methods of liberation. Yes, so we should hold in mind these methods of liberation. Now if we return to the text, it says, in that way, the nature of mind is like space. There is no phenomenon not included in that. That is to say that all of the phenomena of samsara and nirvana are encompassed by and included in mind. So, yes, the text says there is no phenomenon that is not included in mind. And then if we have some slight understanding of this, we can go further. The text continues, completely give up physical activity and rest in the fundamental natural state. Without verbal expression, sound is like an echo, audible yet empty. Thinking nothing at all, look at the truth that transcends conception. So if you really want to see the mind's natural state, we need to loosen the bonds of fixation. And when our fixation becomes a little bit less, then we're not holding so strongly to our perceptions as being real. We're not fixated so strongly on the inherent existence of phenomena. In the beginning, when we have this strong fixation in the mind and we're trying to practice mind, what happens is we give rise to one thought after the next, and the mind is kind of in a harried, busy, rushed state. But when our fixation on reality begins to loosen and we begin to liberate the thoughts that arise, the mind achieves a kind of relaxation and ease. So this is what we need to cultivate in meditation. It is said that non-meditation is meditation. And so within this relaxed state, we accomplish non-meditation. Thus, Milarepa advised his disciples when practicing Mahamudra to abandon virtuous activities of body and speech, and simply, and not to recite mantra, for example, and simply sit in awareness of the mind's nature. And so this is what is being referred to in the text by completely abandoning physical activity. And without verbal expression, sound is like an echo. So in this way, we should abide, looking at the entertaining display of the mind itself.
Hila masa labda chula tu so. Hila masa labda chula tu hila masen pasela. Depa ji ba chet. Depa ji me cho ba khare. Depa sawa thanje do saware ho thoma me ba na ta ba ja. Le ma bo che le. Ni bo no ma le. De do khang na. Ma ba gan du ma sa. Ma ba gan du ma sa na. Samno ka che tan ra ge le gi ji san ra ja ma so ra ma yo phi ba yo ma le. Ni bo ma le. Ole. Tata ke semta ko depe ji ma che ma ba de ma tata ke shiba sa kyang de ale shiba soma jinga na de ole ta sembe de lo digan ta go le.
The text reads, thinking nothing at all, look at the truth that transcends conception. So we should be free of any thought of the past. All of those past phenomena that have arisen since beginningless samsara are over now. They're gone. And thus it's meaningless to engage our minds in recollection of those diverse experiences of happiness and suffering. Similarly, all plans for the future should be abandoned. There's no benefit to think of and plan for the future, as all of our future successes and failures will be determined by karma. There's not a lot of influence that we can exert. The realm is not inherently established and subject to impermanence. On the basis of that, we should look inward at the mind itself to recognize that it too is not inherently established. When in this way we abide in the essence of mind like the empty sky, we establish ourselves in the unelaborated view.
Teni te ta gomba yamsa le bala teni shine de o te da ga tung de shine zongdin chima na yila ma ji ya se la le teni shine zongdin chima na zongdin de zongwa yolo de ba semi zongdin tamche ta to ba da yin iri ta ta pe na 망보 요리도 타토바 다기 있었는데 봐. 근데 나게 저도 로마는 된거 요래. 저도 나 라마는 된거 요래. 그래. 저도 뭐 밖에 나도 타마 로마니 코 라마리 있는 된거 요래.
So for those who are practitioners of this kind of meditation, it is necessary to recognize the suchness of phenomena. Generally, we have a dualistic perception. How to say? In Tibetan, the term is zongzin. Zong is that which is held. It is the object, or that which is apprehended, let's say. And zimba, is the apprehender, or the mind itself. And so we always have this separation between that which is perceived and the perceiver. This is the basis of dualistic view. This is what causes us to think that self and other are different. So, for example, I perceive all of you as my disciples, and you perceive me as the guru. And this is the basis, or this is an example, I should say, of dualistic view.
Zungwe yorse, yakwa shigore. Zungwe yoran ziba semi kaka shigore, pena. Zungwe yorse rakan ziba ma yona. Chido zungwe mipe mechik sara ole rogo yona. Te kaya yoma, ngo ma shibe mechik na. Semla nuka kaya ziga yoma rezi. Zungwe yor pena, ta dini, kocho mungu shiri zena, arse chona, tongda yoma rwa. O mechik rogo logo sanje, asa mara. Pena zungwe yorse, nga chuchu nga lama sa ta zong yo lama nga re ziba sem lama sem tin de yo ni chu homa sa sem tin de re ye ngini ge pala ta sa mo tang go re je na chi ma de ta lama yin de nga la lama chi ma ko to lo ma chi ma ko to a chi ma de ta meng do de 갑당 적으로 뭐 라마 그 맹진 라마의 맹적 맹당 치마 맹당 치마는 진짜 봐 맹적 치마는 지고로 빼나 치마는 버다 보모니가 따르래요 봐 따정 치마 지고 봐 하고서 맹진 라마 로마 진짜 봐지 하고 봐
So we must understand well the difference between the mind and the objects that are apprehended by mind. So by way of example, if I think I am the Lama, then this notion of Lama is the apprehended object. And within that, there's both the term Lama, the name Lama, and the referent to which the term refers. Yeah, and so likewise, I have the thought: you are disciples. Again, I'm applying the label disciple to you, and then there is the actual referent, which is all of you present here. And that label and the referent together make up the perceived object in my mind. Yeah.
다다 개와 좀 개와 있지만 별로 다다 다 주주 고소와
고소.
얘를 빼지요, 그러봐. 주제 나팔 받으나 나팔 받으나, 다 구조적으로 고추로 그러봐. 슬슬 제 야야 고쳤던 데를 빼지다 버들. 진 이제 말해. 그게 말. 아들이 제 생포 나와 내지 탐시 받지다. 생포 나왕을 줘 그래. 들이 빼 대화 치고네. 개치기 내용나라. 근데 이마들 공수는 강해미와 가지를 대해서 봤더니 차오라. 이마들이 될 공수나 그리고 구조자지면 셈살을 먼저 왔대네. 저거는 셈로 파 노조다 총왕에 반도움이 봐지. 그 세고 내로 시선은 공문에 파 노조처럼 이거 말에 레라고 깔랑게 지금 전도로 도출 이어래. 고소아.
아지마데 고나서.
다당고서디 레당부걸 뭐다다 세 대소 다 쳤어 땅가 세 자가를 쇼소 자랑을 쇼소 싸고 요지 뭐보는 거 생코 शे공을 저 살리게 촬영하는데 생코는 로고요 말해 파도 뭐 처럼 거 말고 내래 하고서 그래
The text continues, rest in ease in that state, without releasing or placing. So when we abide in the clear awareness of the mind that is like the empty expanse of the sky, we are free from releasing or placing. If we lack clear awareness, then we become dull and unconscious in the practice. So we need to relax the mind, leave it in its naturalness, but at the same time maintain clear mindful awareness. Let me back up a bit. There's something I forgot at the beginning. Yeah. So the text refers to releasing and placing. With regard to the first of these terms, releasing, this means that if we allow the mind to become too loose, if we fall under the power of distraction, then we are releasing. With regard to placing, then if there's something that we don't want in the meditation, and we push it away, then this is what is referred to by placing. Now, these concepts are difficult to understand. Unless we have some experience in meditation, then they will remain kind of inaccessible as mere concepts. Basically, this notion of releasing and placing has to do with the balance between having a tightly constricted mind and a mind that is too loose and too open. We need to leave the mind, we need to give the mind freedom and independence, but not to the extent that we fall under the sway of unmindfulness. Now, the balance between these two is a little hard to understand in the beginning, but it's sufficient for us simply not to follow after the conceptual thoughts that arise. If we take that as a method right now, that will be enough. And then within that, we abide in the nature of mind that is like the empty expanse of the sky. This should be endowed with clear awareness, because if we don't have clear awareness, we become dull and unconscious in the practice. And so we need to relax the mind, allow it its own free creative expression, yet at the same time hold clear mindful awareness. For example, if a bird lands on the palm of your hand, you don't want to grab it, and you don't want to shoo it away. You simply allow it to remain there for as long as it remains. This is the skillful means. In the same way, we should just leave the mind in its own naturalness, without holding it firmly, without placing it, or without deliberately releasing it. And within this, great bliss is experienced, instant by instant, moment by moment. Then later, when this meditation without releasing or placing becomes habituated, the mind will not waver. We will not be distracted towards outer phenomena and then have to come back to the meditation. In reality, the mind is beyond the dualistic extremes of coming and going. And so when we habituate this view, we will become free of the notion that the mind has wandered and now the mind has returned, or the mind is abiding and now the mind is not abiding. We will become free of those concepts.
semla teso mina sakin yin teso yiba de pena che sembe na tesa da wala pena ta ta ngo so na wa tongpa la pha o tongpa ni ri sam bo yo le yang tiang tongpa ni sama yang tamje sembe so yo le ngo tongpa ni ye ba ke ta ko ta tamje chen ro yo le
No.
ngô tông ba nhỉ ngô tông bê đáp phân thà thằng cha làm gì sao vậy chế bấm thằng cha cha tông ba nhỉ đấy tông ba nhỉ làm mà đấy bên nào là làm gì sao vậy gì ngô tông bê gì gì rồi đó thế cái đặc chế gì trung tham chế đó cha là xem thế cái này là mình chỉ có thể tiếp xúc rồi chứ ba tông ba nhỉ sao mà tông gì rồi đó ồ đấy 치 셈데 요 상도 대양 거 보여 말아. 제 딱제니 타다 잡아. 셈 코로 떼서 가요 말 나카다. 그냥 뭐 나카다 버서. 뒤라 없어. 다 요시고 요래. 내가 떼서 미는 사킹에서. 대라 콤다 라미 사족 톱. 다. 사바 làm gì sao vậy chứ thế chế bài ô ta khai không được nên là xem là khai không được thì đã xé rồi đó mà được thì xé chứ mấy ba mà đấy ăn là sao vậy chứ rồi cái đông mà xem đông mà đấy mà sang phi 18 sao rồi thông dụng mấy 18 sao rồi rồi người dùng mấy 18 sao rồi thì làm gì sao vậy chứ xong rồi 오 đông mà 있으면 저 막 khai rồi mà đã có con đấy cái chuyện tham chế bên là nạp khát rồi 이제는 내 말 맞아 봐라. 진짜 봤더니 희귀하다. 디디디 희귀하잖아. 디디디 희귀하잖아. 매 삼지 로드 지어물다. 똥만이 있으면 로드 지어. 똥만이 있으면 로드 가게 셀 거리들. 다 살라미, 나게 18살라미. 오래 마음에 잡아. 다 마음에 잡아도 안 거기 속을 건드려. 아렉 랑살지. 랑스 산남. 다다 레 자와 탑지 제바 보고 있고. 이거가 랑살을 되네. 오래. 랑랑 옷이 이제 마다 빼네 이거래.
The text reads, when mind is without a focal point, that is Mahamudra. So we receive these teachings on emptiness and appearance. And if we merely have a conceptual understanding thereof, we look at phenomena, outer appearances, and we think, oh, this is empty. But that's merely a concept created by the mind. When we really abide in the nature of mind, then we recognize directly the empty nature of phenomena. And this is what this line is getting to when it refers to mind being without a focal point. Although we perceive phenomena, they are liberated within the perception. They are recognized as empty within that liberation. Yet at the same time, they still clearly appear to our awareness. Now it is said that the wisdom qualities of the mind have both aspects of emptiness and aspects of clarity. Now in the beginning, when we experientially recognize the empty nature of phenomena, when we see that all phenomena of samsara and nirvana have no real basis and they are not inherently established, then we have overthrown the view of dualism and fixation on phenomena as real. But from there, it's easy to fall into the nihilistic view, thinking, well then, there is simply nothing. Phenomena do not exist. Nothing exists. And this is an erroneous view. Because even though phenomena are the nature of emptiness, still they appear externally and they are perceived through the lamp-like clarity aspect of the mind. Right. And so this notion of emptiness overthrows the eternalist view, and the notion of, I don't want to use notion, the experience, the direct experience of emptiness overthrows the eternalist view, and the direct experience of the clarity aspect of mind overthrows the nihilistic view. Yeah? So in this way, when the mind abides in its natural state, it is beyond the dualistic extremes of eternalism and nihilism. Thus the text continues, once you are habituated to that, unsurpassable awakening is attained. Thus, when through our meditative practice we recognize the self-illuminating self-awareness, within that, unsurpassable awakening is attained. So, consider this very well as you all take a break. As you think about the teachings that have been given this morning, and you hold them in your mind, then with mindfulness arise from your seat, with mindfulness drink tea, with mindfulness engage in whatever activities you will during the break. The important thing is to begin to habituate these teachings and merge them with your activities. So according to the teachings of Milarepa, we should, after a meditation session, arise from that session carrying the meditation with us. So if we're walking around, we should maintain the meditative state. If we're eating, likewise, we should maintain this meditation. If we're taking a pee, we should maintain the meditation. Whatever our activities might be, we need to merge them with the experience that has come from the meditation.
Thank you.
So for those of you who have not yet received this postcard with photos of Garchen Rinpoche, it is available maybe at the lunch break. You can just come forward to Rinpoche's throne and it's here on the table. So please do avail yourself of these.
Similar this woman. Tell a com the Lami Sanchok to, don't they come to the top in la. As a comna, later develop in a ranger. Tribai Opacat, Mepacat, Timmy in your repena. Ole. Tell a tincy June to letting. Tincy June to the therapy comes. Gomba in song. The same with the local chatham, the pate, you combated any time. One get up to Lamtan says, or to Lamtan jet at a condition agenda. The Jinsit of Paha, you parted any. Chokambakan Tona and the combatana, Kadu, and the Juram says, Sabna. The Jinsit. Metal, you and I get it, a talented top jetana. There is honey to a book by Morabena.
So we need to speak here about mindful awareness. If we cultivate mindful awareness, then we can begin to habituate it. If we set aside mindful awareness, then we will fall into a state of dullness and unconsciousness. This mindful awareness should be like a ceaseless chain. Moment after moment, we should always abide within it, and on the basis of that, it will become habituated. Once it becomes habituated, then we've truly realized the meaning of the statement, non-meditation is meditation. To whatever degree we can habituate mindful awareness of the natural state, we will be able to merge it with our daily actions and conduct to a corresponding degree. So we need to seek to always merge mindful awareness and heedfulness with whatever activities we're engaged in. As we do this, then, it will be like the seed of the mind's nature taking sprouting and taking root in our mind stream. In the future, then, there will be no effort necessary to cultivate mindful awareness or to hold on to or maintain it. It will simply manifest in an unbroken continuity in one's mind stream.
Mekpe yermi semje ramjin sarso, drupe lami sanje lamna senso, gomi kompe lami sanchok top. Mekpa lan de gom sama mekpa ta, tesa kanya yor maret, mena yang pera semje ramjin sarve shite salam, salnang ze pera, rang or nango, rang sequence, rang sequence, and nango many, all. Something oh, carry, ranging carry it down with all, Tatane or Mate, Takitana, Nakata with Chad, you know. Nakata with Don't Jam Maimba. Salve Chad, Tata, Musaba, Shirksawa did it. Shirk.
No, Sawati, Tachitan would base.
The Takita on Tangima. Ravisawa did. Tell Takita on the Tinida. Lawyer in the Doctor Joroso, Lord, they come, so Takita on that. Sinamla, Janiko, you did an Ashoka GMD. You did Jemati, Martina Machi, Rangati, Mayamba, Zongati, Toxibo Mado, Yi can't take over my collar. Benameto, you would Giona. Tell the auntie your mother. Send me your money, call Rangi with Giogore. Rangas archery. Good of Sancho, something get out it out, shot out there. Something did you say, maybe by go long time. Teach bio. She up the hingy, you say, about got it.
The text reads, transcendence of all subject and object duality is the king of views. When there is no distraction, that is the king of meditations. When there is no deliberate effort, that is the king of actions. When there is neither hope nor doubt, the fruition is made manifest. Yeah. So, the realm is not inherently established and subject to impermanence. On the basis of that, we should look inward at the mind itself to recognize that it too is not inherently established. When in this way we abide in the essence of mind like the empty sky, we establish ourselves in the unelaborated view.
Teni ta gomba yamsa rebala, teni shine de, oh, teta tung de shine, zungdin tsima na yilama jase la le. Teni shine zungdin tsima na, zungdin de zungwa yola zaba semi, zungdin tamchen ta topa dajin iri tata pena. Mambo yore ta topa dajin isa de baad. Deni ngaki choto loma na jengo yore. 조종아 라마는 증거요래 그래 조종 더 밖에 나도 타마 로마니 이제 코 라마리 이선 증거요래.
So for those who are practitioners of this kind of meditation, it is necessary to recognize the suchness of phenomena. Generally, we have a dualistic perception. How to say? In Tibetan, the term is zongzin. Zong is that which is held. It is the object, or that which is apprehended, let's say. And zimba, is the apprehender, or the mind itself. And so we always have this separation between that which is perceived and the perceiver. This is the basis of dualistic view. This is what causes us to think that self and other are different. So, for example, I perceive all of you as my disciples, and you perceive me as the guru. And this is the basis, or this is an example, I should say, of dualistic view.
Zungu yorte, yakbo shigore. Zungu yoran ziba semi kaka shigore, pena. Zungu yorte rakan ziba ma yona. Chodo zungu mipe mechik saro ne ro yona. Te kaya yo ma, ngo ma shibe mechik na. Semla nuka kaya ziga yo ma rezi. Zungu yor pena ta dini, kocho ma ngo shiri zena, arse chona, tongda yo ma rwa. O mechik yo no sa je, aso ma. Pena zungu yorte, nga chuchu, nga lama sa ta, zungu yor lama nga re, ziba sem lama sem tinde yore. Ni chuto loma sa sem tinde yore. Tena ngini ke pala ta samo tango re, pena. Chima jina ta lama yin di. ngala lama chima koto loma chima koto 아
치마세나?
chima jina ta mengdo te 갑장적으로 라마 그 맹지 라마의 맹도 맹당 치마 맹당 치마는 진짜 봐 맹지 치마는 지고로 빼나 치마는 보다 보모니가 따르래요 봐 따정 치마 지고 봐 하고서 맹지는 라마 로마 진짜 봐지 하고 그러나
So we must understand well the difference between the mind and the objects that are apprehended by mind. So by way of example, if I think I am the Lama, then this notion of Lama is the apprehended object. And within that, there's both the term Lama, the name Lama, and the referent to which the term refers. Yeah, and so likewise, I have the thought: you are disciples. Again, I'm applying the label disciple to you, and then there is the actual referent, which is all of you present here. And that label and the referent together make up the the perceived object in my mind. Yeah.
이 뒤에 다다 개와 담 개와 있지만 별로 다다 다